Hello and welcome back to the channel. We're going to take a look at the astronomical and space events that I find of interest, and I think you will too, for the year 2021. We have 17 astronomical events and space events that are going to be happening, plus one bonus at the end of the video. So please stay tuned for all of the events because you won't want to miss that bonus event that might be pretty exciting. So this is our top 17 astronomical and space events for 2021. Let's dive right in. Here's number 1. Okay, first up is a NASA project. You're probably aware of it. This is our next Martian rover, Mars Perseverance. The landing is scheduled for February the 18th, and this landing is the most complicated that NASA has ever attempted. You can see here some of the graphics showing a heat shield deployment, parachuting, radar off of the surface of the ground, the release of the rover, and the rockets that are going to be used to assist the landing or the dropping of the rover onto the Martian surface. And this graphic here shows you a little bit of what it looks like. I encourage you to go to the NASA site, get familiar with the project. The main goals of the project are to continue our search for signs of life on the Martian surface and below the surface, and also begin what will be our first sample return of Martian rock and Martian soil. So that is happening. The landing is happening on February the 18th. Okay, number 2 is coming up. On March 3rd, we have another conjunction. This time it's a planet with a deep sky object. And in this case, it's Mars. You know, the great, brilliant redness of Mars in the sky up against the blue Pleiades. So when is this happening? Again, I have it set here for March 3rd. This is looking west at about 9:44 p.m. Let me zoom in now. It doesn't happen just in the course of one day. So if you have clear skies, let me go back to March 1st. You can see here the course it takes from March 1st to the 2nd, to the 3rd, to the 4th, 5th, 6th. So Mars is in the Pleiades area here for a few days. So really just make it a point to go out with your binoculars, or this could be a great photographic opportunity because Mars isn't going to be nearly as bright. Remember, we had Venus last year conjuncting with the Pleiades, and that was fantastic. So the Mars won't be quite as bright. We'll probably be able to take some longer exposures to really get the Pleiades blue nebulosity to show up in those longer exposures, plus the redness of Mars. I think it could be a pretty cool photographic opportunity. So kind of target that end of February, February 28th, March 1st, all the way up through March 7th-ish. And I think it'll look fantastic in binoculars. So mark that one down for the Mars-Pleiades conjunction. Okay, staying in March, on March the 18th, looking west at about 10 p.m., we have a really nice conjunction of just shy of first quarter moon with the Pleiades, with Mars, and with Aldebaran. These are very colorful. Aldebaran has really a burnt orange color to it, and of course Mars has red, and the Pleiades really have a white blue color to the stars. Now the field indicators I have here, this circle here is 7x50 binoculars, so you're going to have to use the binoculars to pick up each individual component of the conjunction. The other indicators, this is an 85mm lens on a APS-C size sensor, and this is the same 85mm lens on a 35mm full frame sensor. So you can see that really frames it up nicely. On the APS-C size sensor, you might go to a 50mm focal length, but I think this will be a nice conjunction for photography. You might have some HDR things you're going to have to do with the moon in here to include it. I think this will be a great naked eye opportunity just to view these objects together closely in the field. And why not use your binoculars to really take in some of the detail? And photographically, I think this is going to look fantastic. So that's, again, March the 18th, looking west at around 10 p.m. Okay, we are now heading into April, and for me, that marks the beginning of Milky Way season. This is looking east-southeast in the early morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, on April 10th. I believe new moon is around April 10th or 11th. But if you have not seen the Milky Way, the core of the Milky Way rise in the month of April, that is a treat to behold. And it's a great opportunity to capture foreground objects with the Milky Way in this arching position. And I just love this composition. It's my favorite time to photograph the Milky Way, and that is the month of April. Early mornings, month of April, as the Milky Way is rising. Okay, staying in the month of April, this one's going to be a little bit tricky, primarily a visual observation. You can do this naked eye or with binoculars. Please use caution. Do not try to view while the sun is above the horizon. But this is Venus and Mercury, a conjunction. You can see here how close they're going to be. Now this is looking west on April the 25th at about 8:14 p.m. Now again, you've got to remember, I'm in the Huntington, West Virginia longitude latitude, so you need to double check this for your location if you vary from that greatly. So check your location, use your planetarium. You should be able to see this from pretty much anywhere, but you want to verify your times and the exact position of the planets in the sky. But this is going to be, again, on April 25th, a very cool Venus and Mercury conjunction. Very low on the horizon. You're going to have an excellent western horizon to see this. And please do not look at the sun using any visual assistance like binoculars. Okay, wait for the sun to get below the horizon and then start to watch for Mercury and Venus to come together. You can see here as it progresses. Of course, the lower your horizon, the later you're going to be able to see this, and the easier it's going to be for you to see as the twilight starts to diminish. Sticking in the month of April, we are looking at April the 26th for a planet and deep sky conjunction, and this is again going to involve Mars, and it's going to be involving the open cluster M35. We're looking west on April 26th at about 10 p.m. from my longitude and latitude. Double check your location, but this is looking west at about 10 p.m. Mars and M35. This field of view right here is binoculars. So that's a 7x50 field of view. That should work very nicely for this. You should be able to see the open cluster and the planet Mars. And then photographically, this is about a 780 millimeter focal length with a full 35 millimeter frame camera. That should frame it very nicely. So anything probably above 500 millimeters with an APS-C, and then up to about 1,000 millimeters with a full frame, even an APS-C in this case. But it should show you the open cluster M35 with the planet Mars. And check that out on April 26th at about 10 o'clock, looking west. Okay, we are jumping into the month of May, and this one's going to be a little bit tricky. You definitely have to check your location and visibility, and there are plenty of resources online to help you do this. But May 26th, we have a total lunar eclipse. This is what it's going to look like from my location in Huntington, West Virginia, kind of in the Columbus, New York City, East Coast, U.S. And unfortunately, what you're seeing here is the umbra, the darkest part of the eclipse. So unfortunately for us, we really only get to see a part of that right at sunrise. This is, again, May 26th. We're looking toward the west at about 6 a.m. So the sun's rising in the east, we are looking west, and the moon is setting for us. Now, West Coast, I believe you get some of the totality with the umbra. Let me go back here. Let me show you what this starts to look like as the You can see what they're showing here is the penumbra part of the eclipse. That's the grayish, but then that orange is the umbra. That's really where you get that blood red moon presentation, where the atmosphere of the Earth is reflecting off of the lunar surface. So we aren't going to quite get that here in the eastern US. We're just going to get the penumbra as the moon is setting toward sunrise that morning. So if you want, you can see the penumbra. It's very hard to really differentiate the brightness differences. You can watch it. If you watch it go from full to penumbra, that can be detected. And you could start that around 4:30 in the morning on May 26th in the East Coast. Check your location for how much of the eclipse you're going to see and the timing for it. But that's May 26th, lunar eclipse. Okay, we're going to jump to June, and we're looking at June 10th. And this one's going to be tricky as well, both photographically and visually. I also want to give you a warning. Please do not look at the sun directly with any observing instruments. You want to be very cautious. But here's what we have. We have an annular eclipse. This is not a total solar eclipse, so it's an annular solar eclipse where the moon does not quite cover the full disk of the sun. Again, check your location to see if you're even going to be able to see this. It's really going to be limited to the East Coast US and very northern climates, locations, and some of Europe, northern Europe. Most of Europe's going to be able to see this. But what we're looking at here in the New York East Coast of United States is right at sunrise. You're going to have this type of a view of the sun on the horizon. Obviously, you need a very low east-northeast horizon here. So this is on June 10th, and you have about 15 minutes really to see the moon take a bite out of the sun. Let me show you what this looks like over the course of a few minutes. Of course, one thing that can happen here, and then I think the moon is off of the solar disk by somewhere around 6:30 here in the East Coast. So one thing I'll look for, of course, you get atmospheric muting of the solar light, so there is a potential to get a silhouette with an object in the landscape. Those are the things that I start to think about as far as composition. But you do have a partial annular solar eclipse on June 10th that you might want to check out visually with proper eye protection and photographically. Now we are heading to July, and we have another conjunction, a planetary conjunction. Not going to quite be as nice as our Jupiter-Saturn last year, but this is a Venus-Mars. So you're looking at July the 13th at about 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Again, check your location and times, but this is Venus and Mars looking west during sunset. This should look fantastic. Naked eye, as well as with binoculars. So looking west on the evening of July 13th at about 9 o'clock. If you watch my channel, you know I'm a big fan of star parties, and we're going to be optimistic, and we're going to assume that star parties are going to be held. And I think a good time frame to start looking at these is in that late summer time period. And the Green Bank Star Quest is just a fantastic star party held at the actual Green Bank Radio Telescope location. So the facilities here are second to none. Lectures are of incredible high quality. And you can also literally take a tour of the Green Bank Radio Telescope. You can go up into the telescope. Probably one of the coolest things I've ever done in astronomy. Now, you do have to register. You need to register early. This event can sell out. They have visual observation on the grounds. There's radio observations. I'm going to include a link to the Star Party website. So let's jump into the month of August. And for you visual observers and for you planetary imagers, what a great month, because August marks the opposition, the distance most directly opposite of the sun for our two major planets to image. Both Saturn and Jupiter come to opposition. The best time to really view and image those two planets. So Saturn is at opposition on August the 2nd, and Jupiter is at opposition on August 19th. So mark those dates down. August is going to be prime imaging time for both Saturn and Jupiter. For the last few years, we've had the Perseids become a little compromised with a lot of moonlight. This year, the moon is not much of a problem. So please mark August 11th and 12th for the Perseid meteor shower. This is really our finest of the year. And this is probably the best time to look right now, is August the 12th at about 3:30 a.m. in the morning, looking right toward Perseus. You can see the radiant of the meteors here. So that's really the best time to observe, is early morning on August the 12th for the Perseid meteor shower. So let's mark that down. If it's not clear the 12th, you could probably try one of the nights on either side of that, and it should be fantastic as well. But they're expecting the peak to be on the 11th and 12th, really the morning of the 12th. Probably the time to give it a good look if you have clear skies. So let's jump into the month of September, and we're going to continue the optimistic star party, and we're looking at one of my favorites. And as you know, if you've watched this channel, you know this is my favorite location to go up to the Experience Learning Center on the slopes of Spruce Mountain in West Virginia. You're at about 4,000 feet. Probably the best skies east of the Mississippi. And this is a Northern Virginia Astronomy Club event. It is called the Almost Heaven Star Party. It's at the Experience Learning Center. It's a rugged atmosphere. Let me just put it that way. So it's camping, and the access is via gravel roads. So you want to make sure you check your clearance on your vehicle, that it can get up and down over some gravel road situations, some rutted road situations. But the viewing experience is fantastic. Lectures are fantastic. The people are great. There's a lot of activity to do on the mountain and off the mountain. But this is the Almost Heaven Star Party. It sells out every year. So you have to really register in advance. And you can do that by going to the Northern Virginia Astronomy Club website, and I'll include a link to that. Well, I'm going to put this in pencil with an eraser nearby. The James Webb Space Telescope, JWST. It's targeted to be launched on October 31st. This thing has experienced tremendous delays. Of course, it's probably one of the most technologically advanced instruments built in the history of humanity. It is really going to supplement the Hubble. I don't want to take anything away from the Hubble, but this telescope really should surpass the Hubble in many, many ways. But it's supposed to launch October 31st. Okay, we're back with another partial eclipse of the moon. Again, check your locations, because you may get more of the total umbral eclipse from your location. But this is, again, from my East Coast, New York City location. This is on November the 19th, early in the morning, looking west as the moon is setting. And we are going to get a little bit of the umbral eclipse. You can see here we don't quite get 100% of the moon. So we should get some redness on this side of the moon, and this side's going to be pretty bright. So this is probably going to be a very high dynamic range scenario. So let me show you what this is going to look like. Now this is starting at about, okay, that is at 12 a.m. Let's move this in motion. There's the penumbra and there's the umbra. So that's coming on at about 2 a.m. here in the East Coast. Check your location for how it's going to look and your timing. But that's the umbra, and there it almost gets to total and it pulls back off. And of course, as the moon's setting, It's all over. We're still in the penumbra there at moon set / sunrise. There's the penumbra and there's the moon setting. So this is on November the 19th. A partial, technically, but we're going to have a lot of umbra on the moon here in the East Coast US, and it should look fantastic. Definitely check out your location to see how much of the umbra total lunar eclipse that you get. This will be fantastic. It's definitely worth visually looking at as well as photographically. This will be fantastic. Okay, let's look at one more meteor shower, and this one I think will be kind of cool. It's the Geminids, and this is looking at December the 14th at about 2 a.m. in the morning. Now, what I want you to note here is we still have the moon that is up on that western horizon. But if you go 1 hour in advance, the moon has set. So you can see the Geminids just off of the zenith. Should be a pretty good time at that 4 o'clock in the morning. That's a good time to watch. So I would say anywhere from 3 to 6 o'clock in the morning. The Geminids on December 14th should look fantastic. Should be a good treat. So check out that meteor shower. Okay, it's time for our bonus astronomical event for 2021. We're going to, again, put this in pencil with a eraser nearby. And you know how comets can be, very fickle. We had 4 predicted last year, and 2 of them really did not play out. But one, Comet Neowise, really was an overachiever and really came out of left field. So we have one that's already been spotted. This is Comet 2021 A1 Leonard. Closest approach to the Sun, which I believe is December the 12th. But what I have up here is December the 4th. What's noteworthy here is the comet at this time is predicted to be at magnitude 6. But what's interesting is its proximity to M3, the globular cluster M3 right here. So that, again, is going to be on December the 4th, very early in the morning, about 6 o'clock in the morning. Okay, let me show you how this comet progresses over the course of a few days. As it heads into the eastern horizon, but we are expecting the tail to elongate as it approaches the Sun. And this is on December the 10th, and we lose it again in the East Coast. We lose it on December the 12th. But we are expecting, right now, the predicted magnitudes around 4, 4.5, around this December the 11th, 12th. It will reappear in the morning. Okay, so we lose it on December 12th in the evening sky. And then it comes up in the morning sky, December 12, 13. It's going to be in a lot of twilight there in the first few days. But if we go out here to December 16th, there's kind of a cool option there. Leonard with Venus. So that's going to be on December 17th. You can see how this plays out. So we still have it viewable. And so that's going to be Comet Leonard 2021 A1. So let's mark that down as a great astronomical event to have on our calendar. Hopefully we get another Comet Neowise out of left field for 2021.